Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are the Owatonna School Board. It is Monday, it's the 24th of May, it's 5:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Eric, our attendance?
We're missing Deborah.
Hopefully she'll be able to join us. Would you all please rise and join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item tonight would simply be to approve the agenda as it has been presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad for our mission moment.
Great. Mr. Chair, members of the board, audience members, thank you for being here tonight. I will have to tell you, I have so missed people, and seeing people in our boardroom tonight is just so heartwarming to me. So thank you for being here. We're starting out tonight, we start every board meeting by honor either students or staff that are part of our mission moment. Our mission is inspiring excellence for every learner every day. But within that, we have 4 commitment areas. And one of those is 21st century learning, equity, safe and caring community, as well as high quality teaching and learning. Tonight, members of the board, I'm happy to present to you some recipients of, I think, some pretty high quality teaching and learning, but also just demonstrating leadership and certainly the ability to not only get things done in the classroom, but also in the extracurricular activities. We have honored some of our student athletes in the past. One of our things around 21st century learning is really around well-rounded students. And when I have the honor of introducing students that not only excel in the classroom and perhaps even athletic activities, but also our fine arts activities such as speech and music, it is my honor to do so tonight. So I'd like to call your attention first. We're going to honor, we have 4 people from 4 students from Owatonna High School that participated in our state virtual speech meet this year. And I will say that watching a virtual speech meet is kind of like a fine mechanic because there are a lot of things that happen within that. But we were so blessed to have 4 members. So the 4 that are joining us tonight are Julia Christensen, Megan Copeland, Fardoza Farah, who you've heard from before in the board meetings. She was a winner of a major scholarship with the United States Senate, as well as Jackson Heeman. And these folks competed in the state meet, and I guess what I'd like to do is, if you want to remove your mask, you certainly can to speak tonight. Just tell a little bit about the area that you performed in at the state speech meet, and maybe what your place was or what you're most proud of, if I could ask for that. So, Jackson, do you want to start?
Yeah, so at sections I got 3rd, and you need to place in top 3 to go to state, and it was just such a fun experience. I am in drama, so I take a piece from a play, cut it down to about 10 minutes, memorize it, and then perform it. It's typically a sadder type of piece, but it was a lot of fun this year. Different, but fun.
Very good. Thanks, Jackson. Megan?
I am in extemporaneous reading, which means we have a book, and at each meet we draw 3 passages and choose the one we're going to perform, and we never know what we're going to perform. Extemporaneous. We have 30 minutes to prepare, which, makes it kind of interesting. And I just love the category. You get to do all kinds of character voices and kind of some drama, and there's some happy and some sad passages, and it's just been a great experience, and I just think I've grown so much as a speaker. I got 2nd place at sections. At states, I did not make it to finals, but I had a great experience, and I learned so much from the other state competitors.
Great. Thank you, Megan. Julia?
I am in humorous interpretation. I have a 10-minute script from either a play or a book or something along those lines. Similar to Megan, mine has a lot of characters, and mine was about a Tupperware party this year. It was really funny, and it had a lot of crazy different characters. I placed 6th place in finals, and it was such a great experience, especially since I was among these awesome people.
Thanks, Julia. Fardoza.
I'm Fardoza.
Rosa. I do discussion and speech. So pretty much what that is kind of like debate and Socratic seminar in a form of a discussion. Our topic this year is global wellness, so that ranged anywhere from racial issues to the health industry to economic issues to a lot of different stuff with this global wellness. And I did get to place a state this year. I placed 7th overall. Pretty proud of that. And state speech is really fun because I did get to spend it with some of my closest friends.
Very cool. Thank you to all of you. Congratulations to all of you for not only doing so well, but representing Owatonna High School so well. And at this point, board members, I'd like to open up for any questions you might have or comments for our state speech entrance.
I have a lot of questions, but you don't have that much time. So, but I'm just so glad you're here, and congratulations to the 4 of you. That's just so exciting.
Well, thank you all for inviting us. We really appreciate that, and we're honored to be here.
I'll just make a comment. I have to tell you guys are so inspiring, even to have 4 of you go to state. So I watched my children move through these stages, and some of you might know them or have competed with them. I found the work and the effort you guys are putting in really will pay off. I mean, it's great life skills you guys are grabbing onto. So congratulations to each of you to get to state. It's really great.
How many are seniors?
And I would add too that Megan has been selected as a graduation speaker this year as well. So she's going to take, I don't know if we're going to use cartoon voices or other voices. Maybe though, you never know.
Megan, what are your plans for next year?
So next year, I'm doing a transition program for a year at the Academy for the Blind, just to make sure I'm well prepared to go off on my own, and then I'm going to go off to school for court reporting, and then maybe from there, if I find I'm interested in other areas of law, move on to that.
For you.
Great.
Anybody else? Couldn't be more proud of the 4 of you. Thank you. Glad you were here.
Thank you very much. Hang on, because when you are excused from here, you get a very coveted hashtag Owatonna Proud t-shirt. Because in Owatonna, we have a t-shirt for everything. And then what I'd like to do is take a few photos. If you can, I think Mr. Kath is going to join you outside for a photo or two as well. And then I'd like to bring our next group up. So thank you so much. We're very proud of your efforts, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are going to have, 3 of our 4 music award winners. So Elise, Sam, would you prefer Sam or Samuel?
Sam.
Sam's good, okay, all right. Let me find who I ask, right? So Elise, Sam, and Audrey, please join us at the table. So as many of you are aware, certainly our board is aware how important music and fine arts are to a well-rounded education. And certainly Owatonna High School has had a long tradition of outstanding musicians. These are 3 of our latest, most outstanding musicians. This year, I was able to take in band, orchestra, and choir concerts in the last couple weeks. And I don't know if I left any of them without tears in my eyes, but that's beside the point. But I would tell you that this year there were the John Philip Sousa Award winner that's really given by the high school band director to any student. It is restricted to 1 per school per year, or 2 in the rare event of a tie, which is exactly what we had this year. This award recognizes superior musicianship, dependability, loyalty, and cooperation. And this year, the John Philip Sousa Award winners were Elise Egbert and Sam Bugler. So welcome. We'll talk a little bit more about you in a minute. The National School Orchestra Award is the counterpart to the Sousa Band Award. It's the highest honor that you can bestow upon a member of a high school orchestra. And it recognizes excellence in playing and contributions to the ensemble. And this year's National School Orchestra Award winner was Audrey Franklin. And then not here this evening, but just learning of this award on Friday night, the Choir Directors Award is honoring outstanding members of the junior or senior high school chorus, and that award winner this year was Zach Liebel. Have been able to watch these musicians. In fact, I've got to perform with a couple of them before, which was even more fun. But we're just so grateful to have such young, budding musicians. I just hope that you continue to expand your music as you move forward, because it's kind of that love that you establish that just goes on for life. I hope all of you have plans, if it's not at the collegiate level, that you're performing with chamber groups, community groups, because they need to hear you and hear you play your instruments, that's for sure, or sing. So with that, congratulations and thank you for being here tonight, but I'd like to turn it over to board members if you have any questions of our music award winners.
What instruments do you play?
I play French horn and trumpet.
I play percussion.
I play violin and piano.
Are any of you planning to pursue music, like in your next chapter?
I'm going to keep playing drums and play in the jazz band because I'm going to go to Drake University,
Okay.
and I'm going to get a music minor, I think.
Nice, good for you.
I'll be playing and singing in college as well, and then I might be getting minors.
Sure. Nice. Where are you going?
University of St. Paul's.
Oh, great.
I won't be majoring or minoring in music in college, but I will definitely be playing in ensembles, probably jazz and concerts.
Good.
So.
Good. Thank you. I have, personally, I have a son that plays the cello, and he has come home a couple of times admiring how well Audrey plays. And you get to hear that every once in a while when your own kids are really providing testament to that. So we're just so grateful again to have you here, and I'm so grateful that this community really honors music. So with that, you get to leave here and get one of those coveted t-shirts as well. But thank you again and congratulations and good luck to you as you branch out and always keep music in your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. And thank you, parents, for your support for years and years of lugging instruments home. Yes, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate you. And that concludes Mission Moment for this month, but what a really special time. Yeah.
That is great. As we move on, item 5 tonight, which is our public forum, was there anything that was turned in? Anybody?
I did not receive any cards this evening regarding public forum.
Okay. We'll
Do
continue.
you have an item you wanted to speak on? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, I did not receive any cards this evening.
Okay. All right, very good. We'll move on. Right, out of respect for the students as they were here in the room, and keeping some consistency, we asked for masks, but now that the students have departed, feel free to demask. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad for some introductions with Mr. Cath.
Well, and we're going to just take a brief pause because I'm sure Mr. Cath is out taking photos right now with some of our students. But we have you have been getting reports from our OHS Career Pathway initiative moving forward. There are some items tonight that I think Mr. Cath is excited to share with you in regards to updates, but also a couple of the things that I think are, I don't want to steal his thunder, if you will, but have made remarkable progress with our staff, because it isn't just flipping a switch and saying we're going to do career pathways now. It truly is finding a way to invest in what we're currently doing so that we're not replicating our efforts, but also looking where are our weak spots so that we can start to backfill courses. And so as he returns, he will explain to you kind of where we're at in this process, along with explaining the materials that were given to you tonight. These brochures actually were created by OHS staff, and they really call out kind of and lay out a pathway for students. So Mr. Cath, right on cue. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Cath. Yep, and you can feel free to remove your mask now that the students have gone, Corey, so, thank you.
Let me just put that here. Great. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to be here this evening to share a little bit of our update on career pathways. Specifically, the last time when we were here, we talked a little about that we were rolling it out for our 9th graders this year. So we're looking at a 4-year rollout of how we are introducing our Pathways program, and specifically making sure that we're getting all the work done so then that way it engages those students as they go through, without also leaving behind our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders that are there right now, wanting to make sure that there are some of these aspects that we can introduce to them and expose them to give them college and career preparedness, that we're doing that. So a lot of that, what we're discussing tonight, and what I'll share with you a little bit here, is actually keeping us on that track, and really excited about the opportunities that'll be forwarded for our students. Few things. We have really worked on definitions of what it looks like to be a part of this program, and specifically the purpose behind it. First and foremost, you'll see kind of our design up on the top there, and we're going to use a lot of branding that way because we want to make sure that we have not only visuals, but also a clear pathway defined for individuals as they're journeying through the program itself. So as we're looking at that, the first one you'll see up there is Compass. That's the first opportunity that we have for connecting with our students. And Compass truly is our opportunity to engage them over 4 years with their social emotional learning, as well as their guidance office for career pathways, and specifically looking at their course registration and their movement forward that way. But just ensuring that they have a broad compass or a guide throughout their 4 years that they're prepared for. Then encompass within career pathways, ensuring that our core curriculum is solid, that it is a solid tier 1 for every single student, that there's a guaranteed curriculum for everyone that is viable, that guides them for the required courses they want to take, but then also further engages them in areas of electives and career preparedness for courses that are very specifically designed for a field of study. With that then comes global electives, and global electives are those areas where students will get an increased worldview, specifically areas of like world language, music, our arts programming. All of those then encompass a well-rounded student, and we want to make sure that students are exposed to those as well. And then that leads us to our specific pathways and capstone opportunities for students. When we had discussions over the last 2 years, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure that staff knew is what Career Pathways is designed to do, as well as make sure that we are defining what it is not intended to do too. Because there are times where you design a program or design opportunities for students and they have an unintended consequence. And we wanted to make sure that we were very articulate in ensuring that what we want to do for students is there, and that is our motive and that's our goal, but that we also are sharing what we don't want it to end up doing for students. And so I think that's important for us to look at. Career Pathways is designed to give all Owatonna High School students a competitive edge. That is exactly where we want to be. We want our graduates to have the edge over all other graduates throughout the state of Minnesota and throughout the nation. So they have and are exposed to career readiness, or specifically career areas that no other will have access to. Second, make sure we engage students with a Compass team and an education that is aligned to their individual passions. So again, we go back to that idea or concept around individuality and ensuring that every student has an individualized plan for their education. Third, we want to design and define our course pathways that align with rigorous post-secondary education and our career standards. We want to make sure that we have opportunities around advanced placement, college in the schools, PSEO opportunities for students, as well as rigorous areas that are designed around our CTE, or our career and tech ed areas. Create local partnerships, ensuring that our business community is really streamlining and aligning what our curriculum is, because it meets the needs of their businesses. So when they are hiring our students, they know that they have individuals that are well trained and well aligned to work within their career areas. Make Owatonna High School an essential driver in our workforce training and development, so that our students are ready when they get that cap and gown and walk across that stage, that they are ready to enter our workforce and are competitive in all areas of industry. And then last but not least, give families resources in their college and career planning. And so I gave to you tonight 4 brochures as well as an alignment configuration. And these have become kind of our guideposts for our students.
So from 9th all the way through 12th grade, these are aligned to guide questions and answers for families as they're starting to look at what their journey and what their pathway should be all about. It provides the essential questions for families as they then start to navigate what 4 years of high school should look like, as well as what 4 years of a pathway structure or a pathway program should offer their student. Beyond just asking some of those questions, it's also going to go deep into how you are aligning the choices that you're making with specific career areas, as well as then essential questions about how are you selecting those courses. What are those things that align with skills and assets that you bring to the table, or just career interests that you have. And then last but not least, provide students with guideposts of things that they can do within our Naviance program, which is aligned through our Compass to ensure that students have an online platform for all of their learning, as well as then it aligns well with them for some of their research for college and career interests that they have towards the future. As you look at these, they are very different. 9th grade starts with not only trying to understand yourself, but to understand your school. What role do I play in our school, in our building, and how am I exploring different interests that I have, not only in the classroom, but also co-curricular. Then as you go into 10th grade, it starts to really begin to define your compass and your pathway. Start aligning it to then how are those courses that you are choosing, how are they aligning now towards capstones and experiences that you might have post-secondary. Then 11th grade specifically helps students to design and define what their capstone experience is. So in other words, are you taking an alignment of courses that will provide a field of study or an area of study for you that would allow you to get a certification, maybe some college credits right away, or a specific mentorship or an internship within our own community within a business area. And then last but not least, 12th grade, putting all those pieces together and making sure that they're well aligned so that our students, by the time that they're done in June, that they are ready to hit the ground running and feel supported throughout their journey. So a lot of work has been put into these brochures specifically to assure that they align our families to what our scope and sequence is as well. One thing that we've been working very, very hard on this year is to ensure that our families have that structure too, so that it's not just about us trying to provide that for your child, but that we as a team can make sure that your pathway is well defined. And what career pathways is not, limiting choice or promoting a single pathway. We have decided as a team and as a school that we do not want to limit a student into just one pathway. So they don't define themselves as just one, but they can explore multiple pathways along their journey at OHS. We do not promote one vision for success post-high school. It isn't just about a 4-year college or a 2-year college or going right into a specific career field. That what we want is to make sure that individual is celebrated for the choices and where they see their journey taking them, and ensuring that all options are available to students. We would not limit to current career paths and courses. In other words, we are always seeking to better ourselves and to figure out how can we expand to meet the current needs of industry within our own community, state, as well as country. And then last but not least, we are not about creating barriers to success. So as we look at all of this, we are examining as a foundational piece that you have set for us as our board to ensure equity for all. And that is that we want to remove barriers and remove obstacles to access for students to ensure that everyone has opportunity in all courses and in all career fields that we have, as well as all their learning needs too. Building our pathways. So this was probably the largest piece of work that we did this year, and that is to take our 3 pathways themselves, and that's what this sheet that you got as well is aligned to. And that is to take the 3 paths themselves and start to align them to what we call a field of study. So it isn't just about business, communication, and info tech, but what are specific fields of study that fall under those? So for us, we broke those down into 4 specific areas: business management, financial services, and administrative systems. So we have courses that fit under that categorical. Then hospitality, tourism, and event services. Arts, design, and innovation. And then communication, media, and public relations. So our goal was that with all of the courses that we offer at Owatonna High School that are not core required courses, so in other words, not your English 9, your English 10, your pre-algebra, things like that, but all of our elective courses and areas of study must fit under one of these categories. Otherwise, we begin to question, why do we offer the course? What is the purpose of that course as we move forward? And what we're excited to see is that it showed us some areas of gaps where we know that we need to align our curriculum better and create stronger fields of study. But it also showed us that there are some areas that we are well defined in fields of study and opportunities for coursework. And so on the sheet that you got, it also further delineates the actual courses that fall under those categoricals. As we were doing those fields of study, though, one thing that we noticed is that if you get too specific with them, we started to compete against what different colleges and universities offer or what they require for specific areas of study. And so we had to keep them broad enough so that it gave access points for all students, but we didn't want to get them so specific that we started to compete against who I shot for that, and now my college that I would like to go to, I didn't take some courses that would be required in their definition of that field of study. So we were very careful in how we aligned these to ensure that students always had options as they were designed and developed.
Corey,
Yes.
how many, in going through this process and aligning everything, how many courses did you get rid of?
I would say as of right now, we have not gotten thrown out any
Yeah.
courses, but what we have noticed is that we know that we need to redefine what some of those courses are offering and specifically what the curriculum is going to align to, because many of them do have kind of they have an origin within a pathway, but now they have to be further defined for it. So for instance, one would be like a youth service leadership. We know that we want that to be a precursor to our Grow Your Own or our Intro to Education. And so because we know it's a great mentorship opportunity for students. And so when we're looking at that, we want to further define where the curriculum is. So it's kind of pushed us that way to take a look at it. Further though, on the opposite side is that there are some courses that we've looked at to say within our physical education and health, and specifically in PE, about where does team sports fit in? Where do some of those courses align with some of the health and wellness, and how can we further expand those to ensure that then they help a student define where their career pathway might be.
And I imagine you review classes and courses every year, every couple of years to make sure they're where they're supposed to be. Did this make that process easier and more efficient for you as far as, okay, here's the course, here are the gaps that aren't necessarily meeting with the goal and the direction we're going with, or did it make it trickier with?
I
How
definitely
do
would
we-
say trickier.
Trickier, okay.
And the
Okay.
reason is because we started to define what is our purpose and mission
Yeah.
in the courses that we are offering.
Yeah.
Because students, and specifically courses compete for kids, and that is, which course do I want to take? What best aligns with where I see myself moving forward? And so as we started to define this and look at, this is our passion, this is our mission, this is what's guiding our students, because we know that these are going to set them up for success, college, career readiness, post-secondary or post-high school. How do we want to make sure that our courses are aligning that way? Now, with that though, I would say that it just created more questions for us of how can we further define and align them, which then is going to really be successful because we will be able to see how all of our courses align to a specific career or field of study for students. And students are really excited about that because now they're going to see how if I take these three in succession, or if I look at the course offerings in this area, that it will lead me to a mentorship, an internship, a inquiry project that I could do, or a specific capstone experience that is unique to that field of study. And so that's what we're excited about because it will start to expose greater depth of learning for our students, which is truly what we stand for.
Wonderful,
Can I
thank
ask
you.
one more question as long as, can you go back to a comment you made about the not going too deep into the subject matter so that you're not competing with college
Oh, yeah.
expectations? Say more about that. I'm not sure I
So
understand.
for instance, let's go on to the second one here, which is the health sciences and human services. In the area of health sciences, we could have looked at pre-med as a specific field of study and just talked about pre-med. If we would have gone as tight as pre-med, what would have happened then is we would have had to look at all of the colleges that offer pre-med and make sure that if we were trying to share with a child about, hey, this is what you need to make sure that you're competitive to go to college and be successful in this field of study or this next course of action that you would need to take, here's what you would need. But what we started to find is, whoa, all of those colleges are very unique and different in the scope and the focus that they have, that if we would have guided a student to say, this is your field of study and how focused that would be, we all of a sudden said, we have to step back from that because that truly isn't our goal, is to tell them exactly that you're getting ready for the U of M pre-med program. What we want to say is that we are introducing you to a field of study that will make you competitive anywhere you want to go. And as you hit your 11th and 12th grade year and really start to define which program you want, now you've been set up to be able to do that. And then that really opened us up to the fact that that's why Compass is so important, why you have to have a guidance counselor, a career navigator, a department, so specifically in this situation, our science department, that can say, yeah, this is what you would need if you want to go into that field of study then post-secondary. And so and that was trial and error. We really learned that as we started defining this and creating it, is that we wanted to make sure that we kept the avenues wide open for our students so that they were as competitive as they possibly could be. So within health and human services, we have the health sciences field, we have education and human development, human services and wellness, government, law, and public safety. And we're really excited. There are about 3 areas in here that we right now have departments looking at for next year, adding some courses to that. We're very excited about some of the refinements in these areas, and students are guiding that conversation about areas of interest that they have. But right now, we don't have some course offerings within, and so we're excited to add those to it. And then last but not least is our engineering, manufacturing, and agriculture. And that is split up into 5 specific areas: ag, food science and natural resources, power, transportation, and technical systems, manufacturing, architecture and construction, and engineering. And so we have, as you can see, through these specific areas or courses that align to fields of study, and then right now then developing and initiating internships and mentorships that students would have, as well as certifications that students can get that will allow them to enter specific careers. Next steps and outcomes then. So if you look at this kind of broad picture that is here, it starts with Compass, moves us into our core and global electives. Students start to find their pathway, and then it leads them to capstones. And we know that that is really where our kind of final initiative right now as we move forward. We will be doing curriculum design and training for Compass and Naviance this summer. Really making sure that our Compass program, specifically our advisement program that we had to kind of put on the back burner this year due to the fact of the COVID-19 and the fact that we really could not pull students into an advisement type program for this school year. But we want to make sure that we make that more robust for our students, and we're really excited about the curriculum that will come forward in that. A lot of those ICANNs are outlined on the back of this, where you'll see under Naviance. We have an expectation that we align all of our curriculum to that. We are excited to hire a career navigator and define student-centered outcomes for pathways with them. How will they align the work that we are doing to actually engage students so that they are ready, and the fact that how do we create those partnerships with our community to ensure that they have robust opportunities for internships and mentorships as they enter the workforce. Engage OHS staff and community partners in ongoing partnerships. Actually, on Wednesday, we are initiating that. We are brainstorming right now areas of industry within and businesses within our own community that would align to the different fields of study. And they will be able to give us some names and partnerships that are already there, as well as then brainstorm some that we have not forged partnerships with. Had the opportunity to discuss with Steelco Works and just mention that we were looking for some people. 7 emails immediately of businesses that want to partnership with us right now on this to make sure that they get people in their door to have job tours, internships, mentorships for our students, as well as to guide our alignment of our curriculum too, to say, how are you utilizing this? How does this concept work within your industry and in your field? That will make our coursework even more engaging because it will meet the needs of our current industries. And curriculum design and implementation for capstone experiences. We have a lot of work that is going into that, so that we know that as a student takes a succession of 3 courses, that 3rd course, that if they are going to have a capstone experience within it, that it truly meets what our expectations of that are, as well as then gives them that edge and a connection to current practice within that career.
Could you give an example of that? What would create a capstone?
Yeah, so one of them that we are looking at within our new high school would be your Foods 3 class would be a culinary where you are actually looking at what would it be to own your own restaurant, your own catering business, and that you are aligning to say, how would I create a business portfolio or a profile that would allow for me to engage in that industry right away. And so the capstone experience would be something where you would actually create a business plan around an industry like that. Another capstone experience would be right now in our magnet program. Our students that take magnet for 2 years create a portfolio of journalism or stories that they have written. They actually submit those to SNOW, which is a statewide run student newspaper or a student journalism program, and they will rank and look at those submissions and then rank that student's portfolio. And so when the student graduates and has that capstone experience, they will now have a portfolio to be able to use for future resume builder or for interviews and things like that that are absolutely aligned to what a career within journalism would look like. So we want it to be as real as possible so that capstone experience really is because of a succession or a focus of multiple courses that prepare the student to be able to create that capstone. Another one that's really good for us right now is our Grow Your Own, that students can take up to 3 courses aligned to 9 graduate or college credits that they can take in the area of Intro to Education, Critical Race Theory, as well as Human Development. So they would have a whole semester of college courses ready for their introduction into education. Pretty amazing for our students. And what they will take then in that Intro to Ed course is be able to actually lead lessons within an elementary classroom or a high school classroom that they are interested in teaching in and have that as an introduction into their future career. So pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and last but not least, then we also want to do some capstone recognition. Right now, we know we want capstones placed on a student's transcript because it will be a great discussion point for our school. It'll be unique to Owatonna High School to be able to have that on our transcript. But on top of that, then, it will be an opportunity for us to recognize our students that have hit those milestones and have taken it upon themselves to complete a capstone because of a succession of courses that they've taken. So exciting, a lot of work ahead of us. We know that as we refine and define that these are living documents, this is a living program that will change all of the time because our courses change as well. And it should. These shouldn't remain stale and stagnant. This shouldn't remain the same every year. This should dynamically shift as our students' needs shift as well as careers and industry changes as well. Because we know that we're trying to prepare students for careers that we don't even know yet. And so we need to make sure that this changes with that. And so even though we have, I think, created a good foundation for this or a framework for it, it will consistently be revamped and made sure that it meets the needs of our students so that they are as competitive as possible. With that, was a lot of information to go into, but I'm really excited about it. And as you look through these, if there are questions that you have, but just know that our families will be presented this fall. Our 9th and 10th grade families will be coming in. We are still going to use the 11th and 12th grade, even though we've only rolled out for 9th grade. So remember, we're going on a 4-year plan here. So our 9th and 10th graders will be presented with this next year as a very defined format. We are still going to present the same topics to our 11th and 12th graders because, again, they deserve that opportunity. And so many of these courses are already designed, and many of our 11th and 12th graders are already taking them in succession. Mm-hmm. And so we want to make sure that they know how these are aligning to college and career readiness.
Questions?
Any other questions?
I do have some more questions. At what point are you going to be assigning a mentor to the students? It says that you're going to provide one for every student.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so that would be through our Compass program. So that is when they come in as freshmen, they have an advisor that they will have. And it's a great question because we have just decided this at our last month's meeting that when students come in, they will have in 9th grade a general advisor that will be with them for their 9th grade year, helping them to align to the goals that we have for 9th grade. And then that will follow then to 10th grade. And then what will happen is that once they hit to 11th grade, they will actually register for which area of career pathways, so which pathway that they align to the most at that time. And they will be given an advisor for their 11th and 12th grade year designated by that pathway. And so we will be training and creating a curriculum based on those specific pathways that will then allow for students to further explore, as well as in their advisement will help them in their course selection, post-secondary or career choices that they're making to ensure that they are getting extra guidance within the pathway that they want to be exposed to at a greater level.
Will you be hiring more people, or will
No.
you be assigning other teachers, who are willing to do that?
Actually, it is one of the models that we currently use, that all of our teachers, including myself, are an advisor to a group of students. So I currently have 14 students that I advise. Mine are 11th graders right now. And so all of our teachers are trained as advisors within specific areas. And it'll be further refined because now we're going to also create a curriculum that is aligned to the specific pathways themselves. And so they will be trained depending on which pathway that they would desire to be the advisor to.
Thank you.
And so we're really excited about that because I think it will be more meaningful for our students too, that it isn't about 12th grade or it isn't about 11th grade. It will truly be about now as an 11th grader and you are interested in the health and human services, how would you start asking those questions? Which courses are you taking right now to explore within that? And then making sure that the curriculum itself is specific to that. And so, for instance, Made in Owatonna Days, we really are excited about actually using Made in Owatonna Days to drive for each of the 3 pathways and make sure that that is really meaningful for our 11th and 12th graders that way.
Just a couple of quick questions. I saw in the 9th and 10th grade, 4.5 courses, right, are kind of prescribed or required credits.
Yep.
So then the electives are about, what, 3.5, because we're still.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And what happens in 11th and 12th? I guess I'm interested sort of in the elective. How much room is there for electives, or what does that look like?
Yep, so the average student has around 14 electives that they would have throughout so about half of their curriculum is electives. Now, it all depends on where a student wants to go, because they may have, we may only require 3 math courses, but their field of study that they would like to go would say you need to take 4 math courses because that is a better alignment for where you see your career field. Within that, it might say that you only need to have 2 years of a foreign language, 4 years, or some would say you don't need any foreign language within your field of study that you want to go into. But what we want to do is make sure that we are giving as much opportunity for students and that they can start to see from freshman year an alignment of courses where they can say, you know what, if I am interested in arts, design, and innovation, I can look at these classes and start to say, how would that look over 4 years? Because I also don't want a student to take Spanish 1, 2, 3 in freshman only up to their first semester of sophomore year. What are you going to do in 11th and 12th grade and how that actually contributes to the work that you're doing in whole scope if learning a foreign language is important to your career? And so how do we design a 4-year? But we also know that freshmen, it's a freshman. They're brand new to this, and they're trying to figure out, what are the courses that I want to take, and we want to make sure that we don't bombard them with decisions that they have to make on their own that are not supported. So in other words, as we design this and as we look at it, who is going to be there on their team to help align that? And this is probably the first step to do some of that because most of our parents just see it by departments, math department, art, family and consumer science. They don't start to see it in career fields, and this will really shift the way that we have those conversations.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a very quick follow-up to that? Initially, when this was rolled out, this seems much friendlier. It seems as though the students have much greater flexibility with their additional courses and that they don't have quite as much in the way of the required courses. Am I reading that right?
We have not changed requirements, I will tell you that much. So this has not altered that at all of what is required of a student as they go through their 4 years. But what I think it does is it aligns it better so that it is not as confusing. So students are starting to see that all of my courses align and can point me in the right direction as I start to see some areas of focus that I want to have. In other words, it isn't just about a 9th grade year, 10th grade year, how do I fill in the electives, but to start saying, we need to look at a 4-year plan that actually is designed around some areas of interest for you.
Thank you.
It starts to give them a broader picture and gives them, rather than filling in boxes, which are your 4-period day, it's actually more meaningful and purposeful to say, no, let's make sure that we're filling those in with areas of interest that you have. And so as you start to break that down, families look at this and go, oh my gosh, they have a lot of opportunity to take elective that very much aligns to their interest areas. How do I make sure that we don't just front load it or back load it in their senior year? And we tell parents that students need some of those interest areas in 9th grade. Don't just give them all their generals and just and go heavy their freshman year. Let them explore something that might be brand new to them or a career field that they want. And so that those can be spread across their 4 years.
I have a question. So again, feel like I'm aging myself, but there used to be, I think, Thursday morning meetings or Tuesday morning meetings, whatever those used to be called,
Yep,
TMMs.
TMM, yep, you're right.
So I don't know what the T stood for. So, so my understanding of that was that it was kids that basically were similar alphabet and they were in a room. Are you going to try and gear that toward the at least junior year to be more based on their areas of
Absolutely.
interest?
Yeah. What we want for freshmen, though, is that as freshmen come in, we want them to get acclimated to what school can do for you. And so, in other words, for our freshmen in general, we want to expose them to all areas of interest, and that's where Navians will give us the tools to do that, where they will start to take self-assessments that will really guide them to say, what are those things that right now, by taking those interest inventories, are pointing me towards specific careers? And then as I look at those areas of interest, which ones actually stand out to me as, you know what, those do truly align to what I'm interested in. And so we know with freshmen that we want that, as well as just to allow them to understand that high school is very fun. It's an opportunity for you to engage, get connected, and build incredible relationships that are meaningful for those 4 years. And so we also don't want to go so heavy with career and college focus at that stage, because that's not necessarily where they're making those decisions. Where they're making those decisions in 9th grade is whether or not I'm going to graduate and whether or not school is for me. And we know that through Link Crew, and we know that through good research, that 9th grade is a year that a student makes a decision of, is 4 years, and am I going to get out of here with a cap and gown, and carrying that diploma. And so we know that's very important to get them engaged in really, really meaningful relationships. And so we're going to hold off on saying that you need to make a career or a college decision. I want you to decide that you care about your school and that you know that your school cares about you. And so that's what we're going to do in 9th grade. Then as we shift that focus and start to see where are you interested and what does that look like, that's then where 10th grade says, now not only are you engaged, you know that you're cared about here, but now the courses that you select truly will have definition and meaning for you as you lead towards your future. And so 10th grade is then going to be about why am I choosing the courses that I'm taking, why are they of interest to me, and how do I go to the next step with those, because then now they'll actually make me ready for college or for the career that I want to do. Then that's where 11th and 12th grade, you will register for the Compass, or the Tuesday morning meeting used to be called. You will register for the Compass that will be aligned to one of the career pathways, and that will then really dig you into an opportunity to look at careers as well as college, as well as courses that are very much aligned, and then really encourage you to take a capstone that is going to allow you to be absolutely exposed in great depth to that area of interest.
Okay.
Excited for it.
Yeah, very exciting. And I'm a 9th grade parent, so, or at least going to be, so
Yeah.
very exciting. So one other question. So I know at least with my older 3, they struggled. They all took choir,
Mhm.
and so it was a skinny.
Yep.
And so I think every one of them ended up with a study hall.
Yep.
Have you looked at expanding more options so that there's something other than a study hall opposite of a skinny?
Yes. So we're looking at many more options around what our band, choir, and orchestra schedule would be, but we also have Avid, we have Reach, we have a bunch of courses that truly are. That what we have done, and it's my old hat as creating the master schedule at another high school, is aligning those together. So in other words, it's not just about music kids, but you align a lot of those clustered programs that have to be, and then you can kind of divide and conquer by offering multiple skinnies at that time, which then also aligns to students' areas of interest. So in that way, they're not all forced into one course or one selection. And so Phil Wyken, who is assistant principal, he truly develops that master schedule and has gotten so good at making sure that we align that better, and we are moving even greater towards that. On top of that, we're also trying to make sure that we align our core curriculum to truly core. And that is that, so a 9th grader, when they come in for science, should not necessarily choose 3 different levels of science. When you come in as a 9th grader, you are better off having one area that then meets the needs of all of those students. In other words, that you have a core curriculum that is well designed to say that this is going to set you up as you then try to expand to maybe a college in the schools or an advanced placement or things like that. And so we are designing our 9th grade curriculum to say that you don't divide at that time, because actually what it does is it limits the ability for you to take other courses, because if we only offer 3 of that course, now you are stuck to take it in those 3 holes that it can be offered. So we are trying to streamline that so that in our freshman and sophomore years that we are aligning our curriculum better and that we are meeting the needs of the kids in the class rather than having to rename a class. And that, I think, people will grow to appreciate because it truly is individualizing the learning while they're in the classroom, not by name only.
Well, all I have to say is thank you. I mean, this looks wonderful. I love the fact that you've got these little activities that they can, again, is that awful mom that says, "Oh, do you want to get involved?" Now I have a list, so thank you.
Oh, others can't get away from me when they said like that, because I'm like, what are you involved in? And if you're not involved, I'm going to figure out a way for you to get involved. Because they need that. They need to know that that's how you make those relationships or develop those connections among your peers. And so we want that for our students, and we keep pushing hard for it because Mr. Octokirk does an amazing job of making sure we have a robust offering within our school, as well as our advisors. Just there are so many individuals that are doing so much for our kids. We want to make sure they get connected right away freshman year.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
To stay, let's see, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Do students have to keep a specific grade point average to stay in their elective classes? If they're falling behind in their core things, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So what we do is we meet the needs of students as they're moving through any course. So if they're registered for 10th grade English and they are starting to fall behind, we have teams of people that will be there to meet their needs and to assist them. Specifically, the classroom teacher. The classroom teacher hits remediation and intervention at any stage of the course, and that's really what we're designed to do. But if a student is struggling, there are times where we will say that, yes, you need to repeat a course, because if you did not pass that course and it is a requirement for graduation, you will have to repeat it. It could be repeated in numerous ways. It can be through night school, it can be through our summer school offerings, but it can also be a repeat within the school year. And that would, yes, take away one of the blocks of opportunity for a student to take a further elective course. But we also know that a student needs to meet those basic requirements of what an OHS or an Owatonna diploma is all about. But for the most part, what we do is we give the student multiple options on which to stay on track and to guide them as they're moving forward.
Okay.
But there is no GPA requirement for specific electives. There may be prerequisites for an elective, so you wouldn't take Spanish 2 until you pass Spanish 1, for instance. So there would be certain prereqs that you have to take for successions of some courses, because you have to prove mastery of some topics before you can move on to another one.
Okay.
Going back to the Compass meetings, would we continue to have those next year?
Yes.
And then what would they look like starting in 11th and 12th grade when you said we would be assigned to more of a specific teacher? What would those meetings start to look like compared to 10th?
Yeah, so what we were doing is they were doing them once a month. And really what we saw is that was not enough to truly engage in a relationship with the advisor. So next year we're proposing it would be every other week that they would be meeting with their advisors. And then following that, we are looking at some point in time, we would like to see weekly engagements within Compass, because we believe that we can create a robust curriculum within them that are going to engage students and really have you guys truly see the meaning of this and saying, yeah, this is a time where I really am making plans and that I am engaged with this advisor who is answering questions for me that are going to help me take better courses, be prepared for college, and make sure that I'm making sure my high school is even more meaningful. And so the idea or the concept behind that then is that as we get better at it, then we know that it's going to require more time. But so next year we're looking at every other week. Within that then actually looking at an alternative daily schedule around that, which would also involve some intervention time. But then once you hit that 11th and 12th grade, you would register for your Compass based on one of the 3 areas, and then you would be with 11th and 12th graders in that Compass. And what we thought was really beneficial to that was the fact that you would be with seniors who are making plans towards college, as an 11th grader being able to see that, and as 11th graders choosing core and curriculum and having exposure that such as Owatonna, made in Owatonna days, or if we brought in certain industry leaders to talk about internships and mentorships, that you are at different stages of what your development is in different courses. You might be at course 1 in a field of study, whereas somebody might be at course 3 in a field of study. And the questions then would be able to feed off of one another so that you would see mutual benefit from having 11th and 12th graders within that Compass. and that it isn't so driven by what grade you're in, but by your aspirations for what it is that you would like to do post-high school.
That sounds really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any questions?
I just have some closing comments, and Mr. Cath, Corey, I'm so pleased with the leadership that you provided for this. You came into this, in fact, just about 2 years ago, you were interviewing for the position of high school principal here.
It's probably this week too.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But you came in here, the vision had been somewhat established about what we were doing, and Mr. Randall kind of walked that up to a point where now it was ready to start putting boots on the ground and really starting to get more definition around what this looks like. I'm so pleased with the work that you and your team have done, and that includes your staff as well, just how you've guided this process every step of the way, knowing that you've hit little bumps and hurdles along the way that you've worked around with the staff. But within this, I see so much student empowerment. And that's exactly where we want high school education to be. We want high school students to have the guidance that they need, but be empowered to make the decisions on their own because we know their investment level goes up when they are empowered. The other parts of this is you've taken, again, this vision to reality. This is concrete kind of things that we hang on to that our students are now going to be part of. The other parts of that is you mentioned kind of the progression of courses with freshmen. The freshmen coming to you now have a much different experience than they did 5 or 6 years ago because they are coming in with some really, really valuable sort of exploratory opportunities. The board invested resources in middle school exploratory options in a different schedule for our students. So they're coming to you hungry for, I've had photography, I've had musical theater, I've had all sorts of exploratory. Now, Mr. Cath, what have you got for me? And you've got something for them right now. I'm really pleased with that. And the last thing is, you have taken what was a comprehensive high school to a connected and now aligned high school experience. Thank you for your work on this.
Well, thank you. And I want to say it is not my way, it is our way.
Yes.
The team of career pathways that I was able to engage 2 years ago really had a vision for this, but needed that alignment. And truly, that's what we worked on these last 2 years. And we do believe that our families will see it, but most importantly, our students are going to see this very, very closely. And it will usher in how we use our new building and our new school, as well as how our community accesses our students that way too.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to move on. Item 7 tonight, which is just general information. Anybody have any questions that showed up in your enrollment report or any of the other administrative reports?
Just one quick one.
Mhm.
I should know this. What does VPK stand for?
Voluntary preschool. Yeah, and so it's a program, well, it's a program that was set aside, it's a grant we received, and so they go through the voluntary sort of preschool program, and then that prepares them better for
Yeah,
kindergarten,
I
so.
saw that entry.
Any other questions? Question for Amanda regarding the enrollment report? Amanda's certainly ready to answer any questions we might have. Okay, we're going to move on. Items for discussion, no action required. Board forum. Daniela, do you mind if I start with you down here on this end?
There's not much new with me, just starting off with like end of the school year things. About to take my AP exam tomorrow. I just became NHS president for next year.
Oh, congratulations, Daniela.
Thank you. And yeah, just like wrapping up a bunch of end of the year activities, especially for student council. We're doing like powder puff event and a few other activities throughout the week. Yeah.
The homecoming too.
Yeah, homecoming part 2, and then last chance dance on Friday. It's our first and last dance. We get something.
Nice.
That's it.
Thank you. Deborah?
I don't have anything.
Nothing for me.
Eric?
I'll defer till a little bit later.
Okay. I have 2 quick things for you with regard to board forum. The first would be Engage Owatonna, and I know that this is something that we have heard about in a board setting, but it's worthwhile to continue to repeat it and lift this up. This is a fabulous tool for the community to connect and provide insight and input with regard to, in our particular case, specifically what's going to happen with the existing high school property. The second thing I would bring to your attention, and this is something that Sarah just brought to me tonight, there appears to be a meeting that would be happening in September, so we have time to explore this. But the Steele County Historical Society is planning a luncheon as part of Women's History Month, and specifically they're asking for a board member to attend the luncheon on behalf of the school district to participate in a panel discussion. And what they're focusing on is how did COVID challenge your school district, and how will it change education in the future? So if this is something that sounds appealing to you, sounds interesting to you, and you'd like to be a
How long
participant.
is the luncheon?
Yeah, well.
We could talk for a long
Might be there a while.
time.
But they would like to know by June 15th. So I'll circle back around with all of you at our next board meeting and re-ask that question. But I think the date of this September 9th. If you are interested. That's what I have for board forum. Laura?
I don't have anything this evening.
I have nothing.
Well, I have facilities met prior to the board meeting, and the ground is officially broken on the new high school. Yay! They were able to start a little bit early because of the weather, but starting lots of utility work. 30% of the work happens underground, FYI, which is really 30%.
So,
Yes.
off the top of your head, do you, like, what's the timeline for that 30%? Because we won't really see a lot of it, aside from moving dirt.
His comment was a couple months
Yeah.
before you'd see anything above ground.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially if we keep getting rain
I
like
know the
this.
rain is not helping their situation at all, but
Yeah.
so that was a fascinating
Yeah.
little
Yes,
percentage
it
for
is.
me. So, but summer projects are either starting June 7th at a handful of the elementary schools with HVAC upgrades and updates, but the OEC has already started, and so they're doing their graduation ceremony out at the fairgrounds. And so, yeah, that's it from facilities.
Anything to add to that? No? Beautiful.
Hey, thanks.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Elstad for some comments on the administrative report.
Thank you. Just a few updates for you tonight. I'd like to keep you updated as to where the legislature is currently at. So you'll note that last week they parted ways, but they did set a budget target. At least there was a handshake on a budget target with both the Senate and House leadership. Within that budget target, we don't know specifically what that means for us yet from a financial standpoint. I'm assuming we'll learn about that as we move forward. This Friday is the last day for them to come to agreement on some policy terms. And so we'll see where that leads. All headed towards, it looks like, a special session, which I believe has been scheduled for Monday, June 14th, which coincides with our next school board work session. So I may have an update for you if they've taken a vote that day where we actually, Amanda and I have been talking a little bit about, we hope that they'll do some initial runs with the district runs so we can kind of see what the impact will be financially. One of the things that came from Melissa Ortman, who's the Speaker of the House, was about the historic investment in public education. And one of the things I want to be real leery on with that is they're tying one-time federal money in with that conversation. And while I recognize that the federal funding is really important to our district to help us recover from COVID, it's also one-time money, and there's a steep cliff with that. Because it comes to an end, those financial resources are gone. And so we do need the state legislature to continue to fund annually our school districts so that we can make sure that we are at least keeping close to what would be the rate of inflation. So again, we'll see what comes about, and maybe on the 14th I'll have further update with you on that. Just a quick COVID update, and perhaps we can kind of move away from these updates, but I wanted to make sure that you knew the cases have actually cut nearly in half since last week. We're starting to see a real sort of progression in the right direction. We're seeing less students that have been impacted other than if they've been impacted by a family member. The Safe Learning Plan is still in place, and since our last board meeting, Governor Walz changed the mask mandate. But one part that was left out of his message was except in schools, because we do have a number of students yet that are non-vaccinated. And we want to make sure that they're safe throughout the rest of the school year. What I would add to that is the way that the Safe Learning Plan reads leads us to will be expected to wear masks in school during the instructional day up through Friday, June 4th. Starting June 7th, which now becomes more of a staff, we are changing our model to follow the business sector response, which is optional masks for staff when they're in the building. But again, it will be optional at that point. And likewise, when we come to summer school, for our 6-12 population that starts summer school, particularly 9-12 with some of their credit recovery, masks will be optional for them as well. We are waiting for additional guidance though for our K-5 students, and how are we going to move forward with that? That'll be decided at a later date. There was also some guidance provided last week, late last week. So graduation will be completely maskless this year, or mask optional. Now remember, we're going to be outside. So we're all hoping that it rains now and it doesn't rain on Sunday, June 6th. That would be great. But it also applies to any extracurricular activities that are outside of the instructional day. So at our high school, last night I was at an event for our robotics club. And because it's outside of the instructional day, masks become optional for parents and students in the building or outside of the building. So that was an added little piece there, because as we think about concerts, unfortunately, we just wrapped up our last concert before that guidance came to fruition. But we still, any extracurriculars, award evenings, which we have starting this Wednesday at the high school, can be mask optional for staff and students. And then just one quick strategic planning update. We have one more full day with our strategic planning team on June 8th. And then the work shifts to you folks, because they have done some amazing work about really gathering that desired daily experience. And then we worked through something in our last session, which is called the theory of action. And what it was really trying to say, if you believe that these things are important and this is important, then that should lead us to inspiring excellence for every learner every day. So we worked through a lot of those statements and activities. We are going to be working on a district vision card at our next session, but that's really leading towards and directing towards the board work that you will do to set the strategic roadmap, which then we backfill with an operational plan. As I'm looking at my colleagues that sit on the cabinet, that will really be our work, then the operational plan about how we make those things come to fruition. And I would point out that as per Mr. Kath's presentation, one of the desired daily experiences that was very clear from our parents is that they want relevant career preparation opportunities for our students. And that's exactly what we believe our career pathway program is going to deliver. So that's just a real quick snippet. I'm excited to share our work thus far with you and look forward to that as we move forward. And I believe those are all the updates I have for you this evening.
Terrific, thank you.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
So I think there was an article from MSBA that came out regarding the summer funding that just recently got approved. Did that change anything that you were planning? I did notice that the funding was available to use until 8/2022.
Yes.
So
So we are working, in fact, that was something that we had cabinet on Tuesday, it came out, I think, on Wednesday of last week, so that's one of our agenda items tomorrow to discuss. We have a fairly robust summer program that we have developed thus far, but we also know that if, it's been a little more difficult this year to find staff that will help us with that, because even though you might want to offer more, we have a staff that's really tired, that has been through one of the most extraordinary years ever in education, and we recognize that. So I think that allows us an opportunity, though, of not only maybe during the school year, but other events as well that we can tie even moving into next summer as well. But we are doing some exploration. We've got the Owatonna Trailblazers, which I think is just offering more enrichment opportunities through our community education program. We're still doing Minds at Work for K-8. And then we're doing a lot of credit recovery pieces. We're adding some pieces to that, including those students that maybe fell a little bit short in credits. If they are involved in a really valuable or valid work experience, that we can provide them some work experience credit as part of their recovery, because we know work is important to most of our students in the summer. So again, the dollars are there. It doesn't compute to a lot, and so as you start to look at it, the new dollars that were assigned is about $160,000 or so, but we had some before that time, but then they added about $160,000. The part that I think we're going to be exploring even further, though, is we've had at least one staff member come forward and offer to provide some additional mental health supports for our students this summer, which is going to be a critical bridge for us because, as I've stated all along, although we saw some of the academic gaps develop, the bigger gap is just the reconnection for our students and the mental health gaps that might have been established. So that's going to be a critical part of our summer programming. So we'll have a lot more detail for you, I think, on June 14th, which is kind of before we get things really cranked up for the summer. We're just starting at that point. But I have a really incredible team of people that are 3 of which are sitting in the back of the room that are helping us craft that and staff it and fund it. And so we've got 3 critical people right here to do all that. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Board representation at graduation is Nikki and Tim. Perfect. That's fun. It's a great day.
Yeah, it will be a great day because we won't have to honk horns when they announce names.
Have sunblock.
Yeah. And black robes, so prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to move on. Consent agenda. Quick reminder here is we are approving the minutes from April 26th and May 10th, the disbursement and personnel reports. Does anybody have a reason to believe that we should pull anything out and vote on it separately? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Nope.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, we'll take the roll call.
Yes. Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Deborah?
What are we doing?
This is
Are
the
we
consent agenda. It's
consent
altogether.
Putting all
agenda.
these things together?
Correct.
Okay, aye.
Section 9.
Tim?
Aye.
And I myself and I. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 10, where there's some board action that is requested. Starting with item A, I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad for the 2022-2023 school calendar.
So this is a calendar that we have been working on and found Michelle Krell has taken this and provided some guidance, and the calendar committee of the district, which includes multiple different voices, has provided input in this as well. So this calendar is prepared for you for your consideration of approval tonight. Just a couple of highlights for you, just as a quick reminder. We have started to make it a practice that we do start right before Labor Day, which allows us an opportunity to get a few days under our belt with different open houses and things like that. We're also continuing to engage in our K-5 preschool sort of conferences for parents, which we found to be really beneficial to really begin and kind of maintain those relationships. And so everything else pretty much falls into line. There's really nothing to necessarily call out with this calendar, but we always like to approve calendars at least 18 months ahead of time if we can, because we do know planning takes place for families. So I would entertain any questions that people have about the calendar at this time.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor with an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to ask that Amanda Heilman make her way up to the table. Item B is the self-insurance, the final bid acceptance. Good news, right?
Yes, good news. So as you'll recall, this past school year, we made the decision as a district to move from the Southeast Service Cooperative to go self-insured, and that has proved very successful for us. Trend in the market right now is about 7 to 13%, and we worked with National Insurance Services, our agent of record, to take a look at our last 24 months of claims and really trend that forward to give us a projected dollar amount for actual claims that we would have potentially for the next school year. And then we also took a look at obviously the revenue, how many members we have currently enrolled in our plans, which is about 453 members at this point. And so when you compare those two, what we actually came down to was we needed projected an increase of 5%. So we are below the trend of the 7 to 13. And as you'll recall, the last 2 years we've had some significant increases. We had a 16% one year and a 12.5% the following year. So really proving successful and doing exactly what we wanted it to do is really to help us manage our health insurance claims and bring that in internally. So we're hoping as we move forward, we'll be able to build some reserve balance within our health insurance fund, which will just help us as we move forward to hopefully continue to bring these increases down even further as we move forward, which obviously saves the district and our employees in health insurance.
I want to give us the really quick bird's eye view. What's the difference between being self-insured and going out?
So being self-insured means we take all of our claims, all the revenue, all of that comes through the district. Being part of the co-op, means that we're part of a membership of all sorts of organizations. And so we really fall to the fact that we're, obviously, all those claims from everyone's entities fall together. And so if another entity has a really high claims experience and we have a really low one, we're still stuck with all of those high claims within this pool. And so what that does for us is it creates, sometimes a higher anticipated increase than what we would normally have if we just looked at our own claims experience. So moving to self-insured really just is a way to help us better manage our own claims where we're not risk adverse to other people's claims and other people's high experiences. So.
Amanda, I have just a question or two. So, I think COVID is kind of a unique year on a lot of fronts. And was our consultant able to help us understand, were we in line with other districts in this COVID year? I mean, I think some elective surgeries and stuff may not have occurred that, it's just so abnormal. So did they help on that front? And then what does that mean for our future? Or how do we
So
plan
as we
for
were
that?
trending claims forward, we did have a COVID factor placed in those trends, just not knowing, because you're right.
Right.
There were some certain procedures that people chose not to do. We did have a few pretty high significant months that weren't necessarily related to COVID. We had some higher claims this year. Now we anticipate as people start to venture out and actually go to the doctor, we're gonna see some additional claims there, but we did build that into the trend as we move forward, so we feel confident that the numbers we're projecting will hopefully cover any of that increase in activity as we move forward.
And then one other quick question. I know you noted the insurance committee. Can you remind me who sits on that committee?
So we have a representative from each of our union groups that sits on the insurance committee, and then obviously our HR representatives and the business office representatives that sit on that. So, yep. And we met a week ago.
Yep. Okay.
And very, very good meeting.
Good.
Everyone was pleased with the outcome.
And then maybe just one other, so are they able, that committee, are they able to help educate our insured population about this plan and sort of what it means for them? And I mean, do they have any anecdotal comments or what's your sense on that?
So we work really hard with, yes, and we also work hard with National Insurance Services. We do an open enrollment for our employees every year, so this year it'll be in July. And so we work with them to set up individual meetings where employees can actually go and meet with one of the representatives to talk through our plans and have that objective person that's outside the district kind of present, here's the out-of-pocket cost for each of these plans and how it would impact you. And that's been very valuable for our employees. We found a lot of success with that. So we'll continue to do that as long as our employees want that. So,
Great. That's great news.
yeah, great news.
Any other questions? Anything to add?
No, I just think, and I appreciate the work that Amanda has put into this. I don't know if anyone knows, going to self-insured is not as easy as just sort of saying, guess what we're gonna do tomorrow. There's a lot of extra planning and work that Amanda and her staff have had to do, along with our consultants as well, to kind of walk us through that. But to get to where we were, have the trepidation we had about what COVID might mean to us, and then to move forward in this way, is just a real investment we've made. That time up front has been important, but now we're reaping the benefit of that. And as we move forward and continue to build a little base where we can take on these, maybe market calls for 10% or more, and we get to a spot where we can kind of keep those within reason so that we know even how to financially plan better, 3 to 5 years maybe down the road. So anyway, good work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Would one of you be kind enough to introduce this motion?
I move that the board accept the self-insured health insurance renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, turn it back over to Mr. Elstad, the 2020-2021 official school calendar.
So let's hope that this was our one pandemic, and that we don't have to travel this before. But as kind of an annual piece that the board has done at the end of every year, we do justify the calendar to make sure that we fully recognize for public record that we did have to adjust some of the calendar dates. Mostly on a given year, it's because of inclement weather. But this year, we have some things that were called out. And so one of the things you'll note that's color-coded in the calendar that was presented for you for consideration is you'll see some that were in orange, which means those were transition days, something we hadn't experienced before when we were transitioning from fully, online learning to a hybrid, back to in-person learning again. So just a few different nuances with that. And then we do recognize that there was one official snow day this year, and I think that happened on Monday, March 15th, if I'm not mistaken. And so what you're being asked to consider tonight is just kind of just public acknowledgement of this calendar to make sure that we've justified everything that's necessary for the Department of Education, but also to meet our district requirements.
Questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that, again, memory may not serve me correctly, but that the teachers had to have a day if they were doing both online and in person. Does that Wednesday need to be recognized in this calendar?
We don't, because it's recognized still as an instructional day. It just
Okay.
happens to be an e-learning day or distance learning day. We've
Right.
called it all year long, which accommodates then the need for additional prep time, which they have inserted into that Wednesday for our secondary staff. And then we adjusted our elementary instructional day to accommodate that as well. We were back in-person learning for most of our elementary. In fact, I think if I were to stick to a percentage, I would say 90% of the year was in person for our elementary students, because we built a different model with just using our interventionists and so on to have a classroom. But yeah, so that's all been adjusted for. It was all accounted for. We did have to request one additional transition day at the end of the year from the department that they granted us, because we made that switch back in what was now late March from sort of the, well, it was from hybrid really to in-person, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Any other questions? Somebody have that motion queued up.
I move that the board approve the revision in the 2020-2021 school calendar, removing March 15, 2021 as a school day for grades K through 5 due to inclement weather.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor with an eye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Last tonight would be gifts to the district. One more time, Mr. Elstad.
Yeah, two gifts recognized tonight. There's a $500 gift from Federated and Mutual Insurance Company to our Owatonna High School Boys Track Program. And as we see every once in a while, a $250 anonymous donation was made to the Husky Angel Fund. And this is a fund that helps cover lunch costs for families or students that are having a hard time paying for their lunch costs. Or other things. One thing I would recognize is that over the course of this year and then moving into next year, we believe that the federal government is going to continue to fund lunch for our students. And so this covers a number of things. It has covered lunch in the past. This year we're using the Husky Angel Fund for other things like could be that they need to have opportunity to pay for driver's ed classes, things like that. So it meets a number of different needs.
Questions? One last time, somebody introduce this for us.
I move that the board approve the resolution for acceptance of gifts as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Eric's going to do the roll call.
Shalane.
Aye.
Nikki.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Deborah.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
And I myself, an aye. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Felt so good to have people here tonight.
It did. It really did.
Oh my gosh, it felt good.
And it was packed.
For the students.
That brings us to the end. We will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor with an eye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good meeting. Motion carries. Thank you, folks.